The Houston Astros have done something we didn't expect them to do all offseason long, and that's increase their offer to Alex Bregman. Nolan Arenado rumors to the Boston Red Sox are heating up, and we'll check in on the trade market for Major League Baseball. That and more ahead next here at the Major League Baseball Hot Stove Daily. And welcome into the MLB Hot Stove Daily here at the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Appreciate you guys taking the time out and joining us late on a Thursday night. Hopefully you guys had some fun covering the NBA trade deadline. I know we certainly did. It was a lot of fun the last few days, obviously. Today wasn't too crazy as far as the big deals, but we still saw a number of them. But let's get into some baseball stuff. First and foremost, Alex Bregman had this offer on the Houston Astros the entire offseason. 6 years, $156 million. Astros said repeatedly, we're not going to up the offer. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. Well, we've kind of gotten this market down to about 5 teams. The Red Sox are still on the periphery of this one. Tigers, after getting Flaherty done, might have increased their offer as well, but they're looking more short-term as well. The Blue Jays might have had the best offer on the table the entire time, but there are reports out there that he has an offer from a team that he really doesn't want to play for. Everybody assumes that's Toronto because of the instability there, playing in a different country, all those kinds of things. The other team is the Chicago Cubs. They were seen as the dark horse in 24, and then as the calendar turned to 25, they certainly jumped into this race with both feet. So for me, the Cubs are still the favorite here. Even the reporting that John Heyman provided today said that the offer was upped by the Houston Astros just a little bit, but it's not enough to be consequential enough to matter to Alex Bregman. So while they did go up in their offer, and that's always good if you're Alex Bregman, you want higher numbers, there were more reports that came out after that increase was made that he's looking for a 6 or 7 year guarantee minimum as far as a contract. He doesn't want these short-term deals. That tells me he's speaking directly to the Detroit Tigers and to the Boston Red Sox, both teams who have shorter-term deals on the board. We know Toronto has at least a 6-year offer on the table with an opt-out after the first year. We know the Cubs have the same. Now, I'm sure the Toronto Blue Jays probably have a longer-term deal on the table as well, but curious to see where he ends up. But at least the Houston Astros are at least trying, I guess you could say, in air quotes. He is the one player they would exceed the tax for, so kind of keep that in mind as far as the impact that could have for the Houston Astros and what their team could look like next year. Welcome in Rafe, Holly, Master Vinman. Appreciate you joining us. Robert, Mavs are cooking. They did win pretty good today, 27-point lead, but almost gave it up in the fourth quarter. But appreciate you guys joining us. I wanted to discuss this Alex Bregman deal just a little bit more, though. What does he mean for the Houston Astros? He really gives them a major league hitter, a competent player in that lineup, whereas right now that outfield is nothing but question marks. You have a couple of guys who have major league experience out there, but nobody you could point to and say, yep, I count on him to provide offense for me out of that outfield. Now, I know they've tried to get some offense from some of their guys like McCormick, etc., but it just hasn't worked effectively enough to replace the production that they're going to see go out the door from Kyle Tucker. Now, bringing in an Alex Bregman certainly would mitigate some of that damage there. In fact, I'd probably say their lineup would probably be a little bit better than what it was last year because the only piece they'd be without is Kyle Tucker, and they would have added Isaac Paredes and now Christian Walker as well. As it stands right now, I still think they're a good team. I question whether or not they are a great team. For the Cubs, if they get Alex Bregman, they go from a team that's in a very much a dogfight there in the NL Central to being the prohibitive favorites to winning the division. The Astros go from a team that goes from a wild card contender, possibly a division champ, to a team that would be right there with Texas for me as far as who wins this division. But we'll see what happens. Altuve's still out there as far as what they're going to decide to do with him if they bring somebody in. But we'll see. The second item I wanted to touch on here is the Nolan Arenado sweepstakes with the Boston Red Sox. Now, I told you guys all offseason long I expected Nolan Arenado to be traded, that it might take until spring training and it might take into spring training when we see these teams get to spring training and they notice whether or not they like their third baseman, they like their first baseman, they have a DH issue, injuries happen, that other teams would enter the fray for Nolan Arenado. And it sounds like Boston might not be willing to go to the length that Bregman is looking for, so you pivot to Nolan Arenado. 3 years left on his deal, $64 million. That's a lot of money for a player who's in the decline. I'm sure the Cardinals would pay a little bit of that deal down like they were going to in the Houston Astros deal that ultimately got nixed. But Boston, I think, is a good fit there. Apparently, there are reports out there that say Arenado is comfortable being traded there. As far as where he would play is a little bit up in the air. Would he play third base? Would Devers go to DH? Would Devers go to first? Would he play first base? Would he go to DH? What would they do with Casas? What do they do with Yoshida? That'd be the one guy I would expect to try to find a new home for. But I'm not sure how many homes you could find for a guy who really has struggled since coming into the big leagues. Welcome in Locksmart. Sean, appreciate you joining us. Welcome back, Cowboys Nation. Altuve working out there in the outfield. They are working him out there. I know I would rather go with a younger guy in Paredes, but with Altuve's defense taking a dip over the last couple of years at second base, maybe they just want to give it to somebody who can hold down that position a little bit longer as well. Sean, when will Bregman make his decision? At this point, your guess is as good as mine. We keep hearing, all these offers that are out there for Bregman, but none of them are secret. None of them are vastly jumping as far as the offer. It's not like the Cubs went from a 6-year offer with an opt-out after the first year to a 9-year offer worth, $280 million. That didn't happen. We pretty much know the contract terms. We know the length of all these deals. As far as where these contracts are at, it just sounds like Bregman is just not happy with the offers that he is getting, and the offers that he might accept from another team. He doesn't want to go to those because he doesn't like the team itself. So we'll see what happens, but I would say the Cubs, for me, would still be the front runner there. Master Vidman, if the Cubs add Bregman, it'll push them close to the tax threshold. That might force them to trade Nico or DFA Shaw. Your thoughts on not signing Bregman and using that money at the trade deadline move? I think Bregman would be the move I would make anyway. I'd figure out the finances later, try to trade a piece here or there to kind of dip underneath if I had to figure it out. But I think the bigger move there is getting Alex Bregman in. Once you get Alex Bregman in, you figure out the rest. For instance, just to kind of compare it to something we just saw this past week, the Lakers, they knew they knew their defense was going to be terrible. They knew they didn't have much of a roster around Luka and LeBron once they made the trade with the Mavericks. But hey, you have a chance to get Luka, you figure it out after that. So the same thing I would apply here to the Cubs. If they bring in Bregman, their lineup is significantly better, and already on paper at least, they would be better to me than the team I picked to win the division, the Milwaukee Brewers. But that division is going to be a dogfight to me. Unless they make an impact move like that, I still think they're going to be stuck in the middle there. Now, they say they're all in to win 25. That means that they might make some other moves in that rotation. They might make some other moves in that lineup. Bregman, I think, would be just one domino that we could see go to the Chicago Cubs before the trade deadline. Now, as far as trading Nico or DFAing Shaw, there are other ways to offload a little bit of salary. I'm sure if they attached a couple of prospects to Suzuki, they could at least get something in return for him and offload that salary there. That would be another way to offload some money for them. Rafe, I saw the Cards made a trade, and I swear I thought it was Helsley to the Rangers. No, it was not. If it was Helsley to the Rangers, we probably would have done a short little video on it and posted it, but no, it was not. Let's see here. I think it was a small deal. It was Michael Hellman was traded from the Twins to the Cardinals, not Ryan Helsley. So I guess you saw the HEL and might have been confused, so I'll give you a pass on that one. Grab Aaron and leave Bregman alone. We'll take the 20% K rate in the AL East. I'll put it this way. I think Bregman's going to be a good fit no matter where he ends up going. We did see Pete Alonso get signed yesterday. We discussed that during our live last night anyway. 2-year deal, 1 year guaranteed anyway with an option for the second year, player option. $30 million in that first year. We're finally seeing the last of the big free agents come off the board. And just one last note here on Bregman. He is a little bit more defensively versatile, obviously, than Pete Alonso. He has a little bit longer longevity ahead of him as far as what you can expect that contract to look like. So the contract that you might sign him to as far as a long-term deal might age a little bit better because of that defensive versatility. But you have to wonder about the power. Is he a true product of the Crawford boxes or not? I think he's still got enough power in that bat that he'd do well in Wrigley. I think he'd do great in Boston. But either way, I think if you're Chicago, you're looking for an impact bat, somebody to kind of push you over the top in that Central Division. Bregman's your guy. If you're truly all in on 25, Bregman is the guy you have to target. Let's see here. Cowboys Nation, Allen had a good season, but I can't see how he was the MVP. I'll put it this way. His numbers might not look as gaudy as, say, a Lamar Jackson, but his efficiency was off the charts. Every time he touched the ball anyway, he was able to do whatever he needed to manipulate the score, to manipulate everything that he needed to get the greatest amount of success for his team. Now, do we always see the guy that carries the team to the most success, get the furthest? Not really. Once again, he fell short in the playoffs, but he did deserve the MVP as far as I'm concerned. Alex, Bregman needs to make up his mind already. If not, the Cubs should pivot to another need. What other need would they fill at this point in spring training would be my only question for you, Mr. Davila. If you're Alex Bregman, you know you're the belle of the ball at this point. You are the last star out there. What exactly are these other teams going to go for? A trade of Nolan Arenado? Okay, I'm a better player. Good luck with that if you're Boston. I would rather have Alex Bregman. He's got a higher ceiling on him. I think he's got a better longevity as well. So I think he's still got some teams in there for him. Rafe, because Lamar didn't deserve MVP last year and he got it. So so he got the edge over Lamar. I don't think that had anything to do with it as far as who won it last year or anything like that. The MVP in the NBA does change a little bit based on how many times you've won the award. If you're still truly the league's MVP, you should get the MVP. LeBron was the league's MVP for, a decade, and he only won it a couple of times. Let's see here. Cowboys Nation, you guys read the article about the Super Bowl tickets being down 56%. Yikes, this may be tickets back to a realistic price. I did not see that article. Find it interesting, though. Welcome in, Doc Ghost. Locksmart, who wants to see KC three-peat? I'll put it this way. I like seeing greatness. I'm not exactly against it. I'm not for it either way. I will say I was a fan of the Chiefs long before Patrick Mahomes got there. Raise your hand if you remember a quarterback by the name of Elvis Gerbach, Trent Green, Rich Gannon. Those are a couple of the Chiefs quarterbacks over the years that I remember. Priest Holmes back in the day, Larry Johnson, Jamal Charles as far as the running backs. Dwayne Bowe as far as a receiver. I didn't like him at all with the Chiefs, though. Sammy Watkins, a more recent one. And on the list goes. Rafe, I said it before. I'll say it again. Bregman is an Astro until until ink hits paper for another club. I guess that's technically true. He still hasn't worn another uniform yet in Major League Baseball. Anywhere except Boston, the AL East. Well, I think that the Boston Red Sox aren't all the way in there, and I don't think he's going to go to a team that's not going to give him a long-term deal. Rafe, did you see Kid say he was ready for and expecting Boo Saturday? Yeah, I would be expecting it too, but he's focused on prepping for Houston, as he should be. Master Vinman, thought you previously said you personally like the Twins. I thought I might be mistaken. What is your current outlook for the Twins in 25? I am a fan of the Minnesota Twins. They were probably my first ever baseball team to go watch in person. I grew up in South Dakota for a few years anyway when I was young, very, very young, from birth till, 5 or 6 years old. And the Twins are still my second favorite team in Major League Baseball. My grandma, who moved down here with us and lives with my folks down here now, she still follows the Twins religiously anyway. So I do get my Twins talk with her quite a bit. But as far as the Twins go, I think this season needs to go into the shredder. What I mean by that is they need to just pivot and go to the next era of Twins baseball. They've got some good top-end prospects coming. They need to, clear the playing field for that Major League club, save the money, get the ownership change done, and trade away Pablo Lopez. He's not going to be there for the next contending team for the Twins. I would try to get off the money of Carlos Correa. I would try to trade Willie Castro. Any player that's not nailed down, I'm trying to move for whatever assets I can get. That's the way I would prefer to do it. This, hanging around the middle thing never works for any franchise ever in the history of any sport. It just doesn't work. And so if I'm a Twins fan, if I'm a Twins front office member there, instead of settling for a 75 win season this year or an 82 win season and we don't make the playoffs, why don't we go ahead and just go for broke here, trade away every asset, go into a deep rebuild like we saw with the Cubs and Astros, and they built those super teams with that rebuild process. And something along those lines is what I would like to see from the Twins. Nationals did that a little bit earlier than I thought their window really was. They made the decision to trade Juan Soto and capitalize on his value. Good on them. They got some great pieces, but they're just about to turn the corner out of that rebuild process, and that's been about 2.5, 3 years now. So kind of a little bit shorter process anyway than the Astros and Cubs had to end up going through. But as far as the outlook, I would say the Twins probably finish without any moves, probably around that 75, 80 win mark. They're fourth best team in that division. If they gut their roster, maybe the White Sox have enough improvements where they might finish in the cellar. I don't see any way the Twins, capture lightning in a bottle and make it into the wild card. I think there's just too many good teams in the AL that, while yes, they don't have the top end talent of the Dodgers or the Mets or the Phillies on the AL side, they still have the Yankees, the Orioles, the Red Sox, the Rays. The Jays are trying to push for a playoff spot. That's all 5 teams in the AL East. Mariners probably have one of the best rotations in the American League as well. They're going to be vying for a wild card spot. Then you have the Astros and Rangers, of course. And then in your own division, you have the Tigers, the Royals, and the Guardians, who I think are all better than the Twins. Sorry, Twins fans. I know I'm one of you, but I just think it's going to be a long, long time before we see them back in contention. Alrighty. Johnny, welcome in. Appreciate you joining us. Let's see here. Alex Bregman's numbers will decline if he goes to Chicago. Not a good hitting park for him. Maybe, I guess, is the question I would kind of pose here is, how does the wind affect things? I think everybody's numbers were down last year because of the quote-unquote wind there. Usually it profiles as a better hitter's park there in Wrigley. But we'll see how Bregman does. I think he'll be exactly what that team really needs. If they're trying to contend this year, they need an Alex Bregman. If they don't want to bring in Alex Bregman and don't spend the money on it, tells me they're not serious about contending in 25. Cowboys Nation, Saquon would have won it easily. He completely changed the dynamics of the Eagles team as much as I hate to see it. I would agree, but it's a QB award. I kind of like the idea of making a separate award for just the quarterbacks. They win that award, and then you win the actual offensive MVP, defensive, the actual MVP of the league, that kind of a thing. I would like to see something like that rather than just the quarterbacks win it year after year. Very rarely do you see a non-quarterback win it. Adrian Peterson did it a while ago. I remember that one. But very rarely does somebody other than a quarterback win. Rafe wasn't even alive when they was Chiefs quarterbacks. I remember playing Madden back in the day with Elvis Gerbach, Grbac. He was actually on a session of Nerd Sesh that I follow on TikTok as one of the names that needed to be brought up. That was kind of cool. I was one of the few that actually remembered the name. Nigerian. Let's see here. Rafe, I hope and pray squads win a ring this year, or Saquon wins a ring this year and wins the Super Bowl MVP. He's going to have a chance. He is the reason why they are there. Cowboys Nation, come on. It's no such thing as a second favorite team. Killing me, Mike. Well, I would put it this way. I have a group of teams that I like, that I've followed since I was a kid. Rangers to me in baseball were always number one. Then you have a group of probably 4 teams that I would say, maybe 5, that I've always really liked. The Twins are in that category along with the Atlanta Braves. Chicago Cubs because of Sammy Sosa. And then the Houston Astros were when they were in the National League. That obviously changed when they came in the division. But those would kind of be the teams that I really followed for a very long period of time. The Boston Red Sox, just because I wanted them to break the curse. David Ortiz, because of the Twins connection, kind of followed him over there. But, we'll see. Rafe, you have an in-state team and an out-of-state team. That's how sports work. Well, I'll put it this way. I follow sports in general. I don't necessarily have too many other, I have favorites that I like since I was a kid, obviously. But then I just like I said, I like seeing smart baseball decisions. I like seeing good basketball. I like seeing very good football as well. That's why I can't stand college football. Just the mistakes drive me nuts. I like good, high-level play, no matter where it's coming from. So kind of take that for whatever you think it's worth. Let's see here. Got quite a few people sending a message. Appreciate you. Locksmart, you see articles saying fans emailing MLB about why there isn't a salary cap due to the Dodgers overspending. I'm sure there are a ton of fans upset about the salary cap. I mean, Manfred even addressed it. I doubt there will be a salary cap, but owners are certainly discussing it, at least at this point. That's the first time that's ever been acknowledged, anyway, that owners are beginning to discuss the idea of a salary cap. Tells me that the lockout that is coming is going to be something that's for real and might last a lot longer than any of us are comfortable with. I think even one day is too much, but I think this stoppage that's coming is going to be a lot longer than any of us even could possibly fathom. So be prepared for that work stoppage. Definitely going to be a lockout in 27, I would agree. Ray, fans who want a salary cap just need to stop watching. They ruin baseball more than the teams that spend do. I'll put it this way. Salary cap has always been an issue for teams and for the Players Association. Do they want it? Do they not? Is it worth them to sacrifice, being able to play these games and having, certain elements of the luxury tax and all those kinds of things come into play? Is it worth it enough for them to go into a work stoppage? That's the issue I think ownership needs to consider. If it's not, then what are we talking about here? Let's see here. No more Minute Maid Park. I remember back when it was Enron. I mean, shoot, I still make jokes about Enron every time I'm shredding paper at work. If you guys have seen the movie Fun with Dick and Jane with Jim Carrey, there's Enron for you. Let's see here. No cap, but they definitely have issues that need to be resolved. Deferred money is a joke. I agree. I think they'll put a cap on that one for sure. I don't care if the players accept it or not. It shouldn't be allowed. No argument here. I think that's kind of a loophole that smaller market teams really need to have closed, because even when they are able to compete for a free agent, even at that level, then the deferred monies comes into play, and then they go right back out of contention for that free agent once again. Edgar, good knowledge like always. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate that, Edgar. I know we got a new subscriber just as we were coming on the air. I wanted to say thank you, Robert, for hitting that subscribe button. Appreciate that. I noticed our avatar was working once again for the first time in like 6 months. That's why I was shocked to see that notification pop up in the middle of our intro. So appreciate you, Robert, for subscribing, liking the video. If you guys are new here, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. We'll be live every single night breaking down the latest from MLB's Hot Stove season. And during spring training, we're going to go team by team every single day, breaking down their entire offseason, what the rotation looks like going into 25, bullpen, the lineup itself, what their bench is going to look like. What options did they take? What roads did they pass on? What free agents did they miss after? What trades should they have made? And then as we get closer to the start of the season, of course, we're going to rank how these teams ultimately look in their division. We'll project what they're going to finish in that division. We'll project what the teams will look like going into the postseason, ultimately pick a World Series winner. We did that earlier this offseason, but as you know, things change all the time. I mean, we just saw Pete Alonso sign. Now we're going to see Alex Bregman sometime in the next couple of days. But we'll try to go live if that one happens when we are off of work, and immediately go live as quickly as possible for you guys. King, welcome in. Bro, Mariners pitchers benefit from the ballpark. They got a different split numbers. They do, but I will still say that they have a very good rotation. I love Kirby. I love Gilbert. I think their futures are very bright. I think they're probably in the top, 10, 15 starting pitchers, maybe top 20 in the game right now. As far as Castillo, I think he's kind of dropped a little bit for me into that top 40 range. But they still have a very good rotation right at the top there. Master Vinman, thank you for that super chat. I just saw that pop across. Thank you very much. That's a very generous donation to us. Very, very much thankful of that one. Let me read this one for you. Appreciate the insight, interactions with subs, overall baseball talk. Enjoy listening about teams that your subs support. Absolutely. I mean, I don't make it a secret. I love the Texas Rangers. They're the team I pull for. But I also enjoy smart baseball decisions. You guys know how badly I go after the Angels and the poor decisions they've made, especially around Shohei Ohtani. Just go back and check out the videos that we made when Shohei became a free agent. But my goodness, I tore them a new one a couple of different times back then. I say a couple. Probably every single time I was live back then. And then this winter anyway, when they were going through the decisions, trying to bring in Pete Alonso, trying to bring in Santander, I tore into them again because that's not a smart baseball decision. They need to go through a rebuild process and just accept it. But like I said, I mean, I enjoy smart baseball being played. I enjoy high-level performance on the field, no matter where it's coming from. Even if it's from my rival, the Houston Astros, I'm still going to look at that and say, hey, I enjoy that. That was something really special that we can see on the field. I mean, I can recognize talent. It's okay. I'm not against players being great. Of course, I still want my team to win when it all comes down to it. But at the end of the day, on this channel, I'm going to listen to you guys as teams. I can talk about the Rangers all day long. I can talk about all the other teams in Major League Baseball all day long as well. I enjoy the business of baseball. I enjoy, what happens next. The whole reason why I got into sports as well was, of course, the play on the field, the play on the court, that kind of a thing. But I was really fascinated by the trades, the free agent decisions, where a player was going to go. One of my first ever memories is following the winter meetings through a spreadsheet on MLB.com. Imagine that today. How many of you would look at an Excel spreadsheet to follow the off season, as opposed to getting your news here, or looking at it on Twitter, or checking out different websites, or coming up with trades on your own on the webpage? No, I was sitting there looking at spreadsheets, checking out contracts, comparing whether it was more or less than another guy, checking out their numbers, comparing the ERA, wins, etc., because wins were what mattered back then. And I was like, I don't know, 7, 6 years old around that time, and that's how I really got into the game. So appreciate you guys' support. It means a lot to me the way you guys interact with us. And I just want to, give a tip of the hat to you guys for supporting us here. So thank you for that super chat, Master Vin Man. I really do appreciate it. I know several of you guys have sent some over the years anyway, and I just wanted to thank you. Now that we are, past the 3-year mark of this channel, we're going to be live every single night for you guys here. So be sure to join us, and we're going to keep you guys updated on everything Major League Baseball. Alrighty, let's kind of get back to these comments here. Yes, deferred money needs to be adjusted, but the salary cap is dumb. I don't think it's dumb. I just don't think it'll ever happen. I think there are other ways that baseball has found to legislate the salaries of teams, try to keep them within a certain range. Now, every now and again, you'll get a team that just thinks they can blow past it, like the Dodgers. The Mets just did. They finally passed the Steve Cohen tax for the first time since Steve Cohen has been an owner. But I will say the deferred money has become a little bit ridiculous there for the Dodgers. I would expect that to be capped. And I'm sure it'll be grandfathered in as far as the contracts you already have on the books. But we'll see what happens there. But I do expect a cap on that overall number. Steven, welcome back. Appreciate you. Speaking of a guy who's donated to us before, Steven, I want to thank you once again for your super chat the other day. Bregman ends up anywhere but negatively impacts the Yankees. I'll put it this way. I would love to have seen another impact bat for the Yankees. I thought Bregman would be a great fit. If they had found a way to get off the contracts of DJ LeMahieu and Marcus Stroman, I think they could easily have afforded Alex Bregman and another bullpen arm. Now, with that being said, both guys are still on the roster. I still think there's an opportunity for them to offload both of those salaries if they're willing to attach enough prospects to it, to a team like the Los Angeles Angels, or to the Tampa Bay Rays, or to the Miami Marlins. Probably more likely the Miami Marlins, because I think they could turn around and flip Stroman at the deadline. But as far as DJ LeMahieu, they need offense down there in Miami. I guess if he turns it around, he could turn into another trade asset for them. But I think that would be the way I would go if I was New York and try to bring in Bregman. Sadly, that's not going to happen, and it sounds like they're going to go with a very low-cost option, or maybe an even in-house option at third base and second as well. Cowboys Nation, Trump killed the tax cut for billionaire owners who own sports teams. It'll be interesting to see if this has an effect. He did lower the tax, or he had taxes in place from the last time he was president that took place all the way through, I believe, through the entirety of Biden's presidency. I haven't checked into all the tax numbers yet, but I do believe that there are more tax cuts coming for that same class. I don't think it's going to change much as far as Major League Baseball is concerned, but taxes always affect everybody differently. So until we actually have any more real numbers on that one as far as impact on the game, I think nothing is really going to change here as far as the impact on the field, on the players, on the owners' willingness to spend. Sean, will Bregman be signed this before the season? Yes, he will. I would still expect it pretty much any time now. Been saying that for the better part of, I don't know, a couple weeks, it feels like at this point. Let's see here. Rafe, I know we're back on baseball and not basketball, but I got to say today was the first time I watched a full Mavs game in a long time. Was actually excited to watch some of them play. I was as well. I do watch a few games every now and again. I have the antenna up, that way I can watch them on the local broadcast channel. It was a pretty cool game. In the middle of, right at the end of it anyway, I got a call from my work anyway, so I had to miss the very end of it. When they had a 27-point lead and it came all the way down to 7, you can go ahead and blame me. I had to leave the house, but there was an alarm going off at work and I had to go check it out. Luckily, everything was fine. I'm guessing somebody pulled on the door and yanked it loose or something, but yeah, that was a fun call to receive right as I was finishing dinner, enjoying the meal with my lady and watching the game, and then boom, got to go back to work even in the middle of my vacation. So that was fun. But everything was fine. I noticed a PD guy as I was leaving and thanked him for checking on the place, and he was very cordial and said, "Hey, anytime, man." So I was thankful that nothing was wrong and didn't have to stay up there all night, and then I would have missed my live. But I tell you guys, every single night I'm going to be live here, and I was really hoping there wasn't some actual damage or something, and luckily everything was just fine. Let's see here. Rafe, well, I win some money if the Chiefs win Sunday, but F the money, give me the Eagles. Betting with your brain, hoping with your heart. Okay, Rafe, I like that one. Rio, welcome in. Per Shams, Ben Simmons has agreed to a buyout with the Nets and plans to sign with the Cavs. Honestly, that means nothing to me as far as the Nets, but the Cavs, they get another big wing, kind of in that same vein with DeAndre Hunter. His floor spacing, though, is another blight on that team, though. You're going to have three guys on the floor at the same time who can't shoot. Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, and Ben Simmons. Now, how much are you going to play him is the bigger question. I think you'd only play him when you have Dean Wade on the floor as well. Maybe Sam Merrill, and only in smaller lineups. Maybe trying to go more athletic. But, they do need bigger wings to contend with Tatum and Brown in the postseason. But I do think the Cavs, to me at least, are the favorites to come out of the East. Just slightly ahead of Boston, because I think Boston has some issues they need to work out. I think they will. Once they do, then Boston will be my favorite to come out of the East at that point. Cowboys Nation, Bregman has too much class to be in pinstripes. I don't know about that one. That seems a little harsh there. Like I said, I'm a fan of baseball. I'm a fan of smart decisions in general, and they do need to make an improvement there with New York. They need to upgrade that roster. Steven, appreciate that. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for that super chat. Can you explain why Bull get any run? Why Bull doesn't get any run? Easiest way I can explain it would be there's not enough belief on the team that he's going to eventually reach his potential. We've been talking about Bull for years, and it's just not going to happen. As far as the talent that he has, if he was on a team like, say, Detroit, or say the Brooklyn Nets this year, or somebody like that where he doesn't have the pressure of playing in a postseason series, I think Detroit's a better team this year, so maybe they're a bad example. But say a team like, Charlotte. They need some center help now after they traded Mark Williams to the Lakers. They bring in Nurkic. Nurkic, I think, is going to be around through this season, and they'll try to cut him or in the offseason or buy him out at that point. But as far as his future, I just don't think it's very bright anymore. I think he's a great talent, but a talent that's never going to be received on the court. All right, cruise control. After Bregman signs, think Arenado trade goes to Red Sox, Yankees, or Dodgers? Yankees, I say no. Red Sox, I'm beginning to lean that he's going to go there as they've continued to talk about it. It's been a talking point in Major League Baseball for about 3 days now. Anytime there's that much chatter this close to spring training, there are serious legs to it. So we'll see where he goes, but I think as far as Arenado, I think a trade to the Red Sox could be in the offing very soon. Maybe they are waiting for Bregman to get done, because if the Red Sox are the winner there, obviously there's not a fit there for Arenado, but we will see. Locksmart, damn, I thought the Cavs were as good as Niang, as it jumps there, sorry. Niang is underrated, but getting DeAndre, can't complain. Now Simmons, they should go all the way to the finals. They are a very good team. They are my pick, at least right now. Jace, welcome in. Appreciate you joining us. Cowboys Nation, he killed it for the sports franchise owners directly. From what I've read, whatever they paid it, straight taxes, they got to write it off. Now the way it reads, they'll no longer get that break on the federal side. I'll take your word for it. I haven't studied the taxes that closely as far as sports business owners. I'm not in that tax bracket, so I don't worry about that part of it. Let's see here. Sean, will Alex Bregman sign before the season? I do think they will. Cruise control, KC repeat. If the smart money says they will, I do like the way Saquon's really impacted that Eagles team. And as a Cowboys fan, I find it very hard to root for the Eagles, but Saquon's a very easy guy to root for. Hoping he does really well in the Super Bowl, no matter win, lose, or draw for them. As far as Patrick Mahomes goes, I'm from where Patrick Mahomes was originally from. Played his high school games probably 9 minutes from my house, maybe 8 minutes. So kind of, it's Patrick Mahomes country, and the local radio station here actually covers all the Chiefs games as well. Every game the Chiefs have, we get them on our local radio. They still get the Cowboys, don't get me wrong, but It's very odd to see the Kansas City Chiefs have a radio broadcast all the way down this far in Texas. Let's see here. Cowboys Nation, he's awful. That's why. I wouldn't say he's awful. He just has a lot of talent that's so raw, it doesn't have enough time in the NBA. G League is basically where he belongs at this point to develop those skills, to be able to play bigger bodies, to handle the bigger minutes. And until he does those kinds of things, I don't think he'll ever make an impact at that point. Let's see here. Cruise Control. Cavs the best in the East, but Knicks or Celtics still in the mix. I would say Celtics are still in the mix. Knicks, for me, are a step or two back. I thought they should have made another addition as far as a center. I think they'll miss having Hartenstein. I think they'll miss having the athleticism of Sims. I do not like the trade of Daylon Wright. He can't shoot. He just gives you some insurance in case Josh Hart goes down due to injury. But they're very beholden to what Jalen Brunson does for them at the point. If he gets hurt or banged up, that team's not going very far, and I think they'd struggle anyway, fully loaded, against the Celtics or Cavs. Let's see here. Rafe, I'm going to have my NBA knowledge up before next NBA Live, I promise. No worries there, Rafe. You're good. Cruise Control. Red Sox not willing to eat $20 million of a $64 million contract. You mean the Cardinals not willing to eat that? Well, they were willing to eat $15 million when they were doing the trade with the Houston Astros. So $5 million more, I'm sure the Cardinals would be willing to do if they get the compensation that they're looking for. That's the bigger question. Welcome in, Jace. Let's see here. Cowboys Nation, he will be waiting for the Astros to trade Framber for the Orioles to free up some room. I do think that would be a great addition for the Orioles. They need a number one. Framber fits that description. I wonder once we get to spring training, if we start hearing some rumblings about Framber and the Astros as far as whether or not they're going to give him an extension, whether or not he's willing to sign there, what number he's actually going to be looking for. Those are some headlines I'm going to be paying attention to very early on in spring training. Another one is the Toronto Blue Jays, whether or not they get that extension done with Vlad Guerrero Jr., if Guerrero is willing to extend the conversation a little bit into spring training to see if they can hammer out the deal if it is actually close. That's something to kind of keep an eye on as well. It's hard to root for a city of Philadelphia anytime. I mean, outside of Philadelphia, they have earned their reputation. I'll put it that way. Edgar, hey, are you following the baseball series Del Caribbean 2025? Not too closely. I do remember Game 7. We actually watched the very end of it anyway here on, we watched the Twitter feed of it anyway for just a minute when we were on stream. Some guys stream it, KBO, Twitch, Edgar, they do. Rafe, when do the Astros finally fall off again? I don't think they're going to fall off the cliff. I think this is an Astros team that's going to hang around for a very long time. Are they going to be at the pinnacle of the American League? Probably not. I would say they're going to be in contention for a wild card spot at worst. I think more typically they'll be in contention for the division. And every now and again they'll have a year where they have a great year that they're going to make a run to the ALCS again and maybe to the World Series and even win one. That's just kind of how I see this thing going for the Astros, is that they'll keep this thing going. I don't think they'll ever reach the height of what they were during their peak, but I still think they'll be a very competitive team for years and possibly decades to come. Very rarely do we see a team not go through a real lull in an organization. The Astros have some good talent on that roster, locked up for a couple of years, and I expect them to increase their prospect pool over the next couple of years to have that next wave ready to go when this Alvarez is ready to hit free agency and others. Christian Walker comes to mind as well. Rafe, Deion Sanders bringing in Marshall Faulk as running back coach. I know you said you don't care about college football, but it's a good move. He did have Warren Sapp on his staff last year, kind of turned around Warren Sapp's life, he said. So Deion's a great guy off the, outside of college football. He's just a great human being, and glad to see that he's giving these guys, some purpose in life. That's really what Warren Sapp needed after his departure from the NFL Network, and glad he got it there with Deion and the Buffaloes there in Colorado. Master Vinman, are the Padres still looking to trade Cease? They are. I'm still surprised we haven't seen any real movement from the Padres now that they've resolved a little bit of their ownership situation, but we shall see. Cowboys Nation, Marshall was a different monster. He certainly was. One of the first, pass catching, running, or, do everything backs that I remember. Literally was a cheat code in Madden. Literally could do pretty much everything. Deion is a bum. I don't worry about religion and that kind of a thing. But as far as reaching out to other people, trying to lift them up, what coaches usually do, especially college coaches, he's exemplary at that. He's very good as far as lifting up his own players, lifting up people that are around him, and bettering those people and getting them going the right direction. Warren Sapp is probably the biggest example I can think of off the top of my head. Warren Sapp had a lot of issues going on at the end of his tenure there with the NFL Network, and things were looking pretty bleak as far as his future. But basically, Dion and him kind of got together. They said, "Hey, man, you need some purpose," and he brought him into college football. And Warren's just a completely different guy. His face is full of energy, full of life again, and happy to see him getting more. Happy to see him sticking with a role that works really well for him. He's really good at developing those young men into the next role of their life. So happy to see him not take the next step to go to the NFL. Dion, greatest of all time. I would say greatest cornerback of all time. Might be in the conversation for one of the greatest college football coaches as far as developing talent, developing men into leaders. I would say that for sure. As far as developing some teams, as far as defensively, that remains to be seen. Colorado's been terrible defensively for the last couple of years, and they haven't been able to have a good running back since he's been there. If they had a good running back, I think Colorado probably would have won a couple more games this year. Might have been a team in the playoff as well. Let's see here. King. Was Adrian Beltre the best third baseman in Texas Rangers history? I saw an article on Bleacher Report. They were kind of going through different franchises every single day as far as, who's the best first baseman today out of these franchises. And the Rangers' pick was Adrian Beltre for third base. Blaylock was an honorable mention. Michael Young was an honorable mention. I know I'm missing a few others. Dean Palmer, I think, was a third baseman at one point. I'm sure I'm missing another one. But for me, Adrian Beltre was indeed the best third baseman in Rangers history. Beltre was probably the best Ranger in general. I wouldn't say that. I would say the best Ranger ever. As far as talent on the field, I would probably say Pudge. Handled the hardest position to play. Did it for such a long period of time. Whether you believe there was help from PEDs or not, I don't care. For me, he was probably one of the most gifted players I've ever seen. And he could still probably throw out a few guys in the majors today, even with the shorter base paths. I mean, Pudge is just that good. Let's see here. Will Jordan Montgomery rebound, or is he a lost cause? I think he'll be very good this year. By very good, I mean in the neighborhood of a number 3 type of a starter for whoever does trade for him. I think he'll get a number of innings out of him as well. He's usually very durable in that regard. I think last year was just a lost season because of how things were handled by him and Scott Boras. I think if Montgomery had just taken the team-friendly deal on the table from the Rangers early on, this wouldn't have been a discussion. And he would have been able to stay with the team and continue to have some success. This thing took into the start of the season last year and ultimately signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Things did not go well from jump. And owner came out and blasted him before the end of the season anyway. He needs out of there. I would expect the Diamondbacks to eat a healthy chunk of that salary. I'm glad Baxter is going to be healthy again for Texas next season. Rafe, for me, Beltre was the most entertaining for sure. Entertaining? I know there's a lot of fans of the Elvis Beltre stuff, but I didn't really care for it one way or the other. I thought it was distracting, if anything. I'm glad they're having fun, but let's focus on the game, guys. As far as entertaining, A-Rod was entertaining when he came to Texas. You never knew what he was going to do anytime he came to the plate, anytime a ball was hit to him. He was electrifying to watch, even though he had the issues around him. Kind of had that arrogance about him playing around, with the Texas Rangers. He was electrifying, though, to watch. Other players in Rangers history that are kind of in that same ilk, I'd say Corey Seager when we signed him. He's in that category. I know there was certain electricity around Prince Fielder, but we never really got to see it on the field. I was hopeful we'd get to see that one. Let's see, how good was Michael Young? I would say he's pretty darn good. I think he was better as a utility player. If they had kept him at short or kept him at second, probably would have been better for his career. That way he had a home long term. I think as players were continually brought in by Texas, he was just a, hey, you want to move over here because you've already moved before? Sure. Hey, you want to move again? Sure. And then it just became a little bit of a nuisance, I think, to Michael Young, that he wasn't seen as a stalwart at a specific position. But I would say he's kind of a better version anyway of Ben Zobrist to me. But I think he was a great player. MLB trade rumors just scared the out of me with their post. Let's check it out. Let me go ahead and pull up X and just see what the post was. Avisael Garcia to miss the 2025 season. Okay. Yeah, if you had speed read that comment there would be a little bit surprising, but not a surprise here with Visael Garcia to miss the season, honestly. I'm not sure how much they would have gotten out of him anyway. I knew he had some injury issues going into the offseason, and not surprised to hear that he's going to be missing the entire year. Ryan would be your top. Nolan Ryan would be your top Ranger. I know he's a lot of people's top Ranger. That's for sure. I remember being crushed seeing Kinsler leaving. I was to a certain extent, but I really wanted them to get Prince Fielder when he was a free agent anyway. So I was very happy to see the trade go through. It was tough to see Ian go. I thought they would do something different to kind of offset the money, but that was the ballast that they found, is sending out Kinsler to balance out the money a little bit for Prince Fielder. Sean, reports are that Bregman wants to make his decision before full workouts begin, which again is going to be less than a week, so expect that decision here very shortly. Bill, welcome in. Hey Mike, hope all is well, and Arenado should be traded to Mars Interplanetary League. As far as Aronado at this point, I think he's a good option for the Red Sox, a good option for a lot of teams who need some improvement offensively. Is he the same player that he was with the Rockies? No. Is he the same player that the Cardinals had at the beginning of their run? No. But I'd still say he's got a good... I think he's got at least one more year, another good year in him anyway, and we'll see what the Red Sox get if they trade for him. Hall was tough too. John, what's the news on Arenado about re-engaged with the Yankees? Let's see. Let me pull this sheet up here. Visael Garcia. One other bit of news that I haven't mentioned yet. Yohan Moncada, seen as the fallback option for the Tigers if they miss on Bregman, signed a one-year, $5 million deal to go to the Los Angeles Angels. He's going to be a good fit there with Ron Washington. That was the original team that was interested in back in November, and they finally get the deal done this late in February. Good on them for sticking to it and getting that deal done. Ipe, the interpreter for Shohei Ohtani, was sentenced to 57 months in prison, basically about 5 years. Twins are looking for some infield depth there. As far as Arenado goes, I didn't see the Yankees, honestly. If you wouldn't mind sending me that, I'd love to hear it. But as far as the Arenado talks, I continue to see the Red Sox in discussions there. As far as the Yankees, I think he'd be a good fit. As far as the impact in that lineup, but I think they're going to have to figure out trading some salary first, or at least offsetting a significant percentage of that salary if they were to bring him in. King, what would be the best Rangers lineup in the 2000s? Ooh, good question. I'm not sure. Beltre wasn't in there in the 2000 range, the year 2000 to 2010. He was not in that group. I'd say probably Mark Teixeira or Rafael Palmeiro would be your first baseman. Pudge would be your catcher. A-Rod would probably be your shortstop. Third base, probably Hank Blaylock. Second would be... Let's put Michael Young over there at second base. In the outfield, I'd probably put Rusty Greer in center or left. Juan Gonzalez in right. I can't remember if he was there in 2000 or if that was right around the time he left. But I'd say Gonzalez out there in right. And in left, probably Frank Catalanado. I loved him as a Ranger. On-base percentage, kind of very useful multi-positional player. As far as a DH... That's a good question. I'm not sure who I would pick to be the DH. Probably Rafi to be the DH and Teixeira to be the first baseman. How about that one? Alrighty, let's try to catch up on a few of these comments here. Sean, why is Garcia missing the whole season? I heard he had some injuries going into the offseason, but let's upgrade it. He had surgery in October to repair a fracture and disc in his lower back. While there's no timetable, he's suggesting a return to winter ball next off-season. So it is the injury that he had at the end of the year that he had the surgery for on his lower back. Let's see here. D-Rod, Michael, what's up, buddy? Who was the center fielder that made that crazy catch for the Rangers? Gary Matthews Jr. still belongs in everybody's mind for one of the greatest home run robberies of all time. Cubby Knoll, Astros throwing Breggs a bone. In other words, they trying to set his market as a going-away present. Maybe they're trying to help him out, saying, hey, the Astros are willing to up their offer. What about you guys? That would make some sense there, but welcome in, D-Rod. Appreciate you joining us. John, welcome in. Let's see here. Do you think Bregman still ends up with the Cubs? I do. Cowboys Nation, poor guy. I wonder how much he got paid to take a fall. Um, take a fall. Not sure who you're referring to there. Any website said so. Our SNY website said so. Interesting. Interesting. Maybe, I mean, to me, they still have the first priority to get done. They have to move on from Stroman. I don't think there's any use having Yankees discussions about Arenado until they move on from Stroman. I think they've been very clear about their financial issues as far as how far they want to go, closer to that Steve Cohen tax, but I don't think they'll exceed it for a Nolan Arenado type player. What do you see the Giants doing at the trade deadline if they are fourth place and well underperforming? I would look to try to trade the first baseman I think they're going to bring in the offseason. I would look for them to try to trade Robbie Ray if he's having a good year. I would look for them to try to trade Doval as well, and then see if they can get a deal for Yastrzemski, etc., whoever else is in that outfield mix, and besides Lee. Otherwise, I think they're going to keep that roster pretty much together and build on what this roster has already done. Maybe even Verlander could be had at the deadline. Palmeiro had been one of the prettiest swings I've ever seen. Yes, he did. He had a great swing. It was a work of art. Royd's abuser, but yeah, I mean, during that period of time, a lot of guys were. I will say that, but even at 48, Rafael Palmeiro could still hit. We saw his workout videos all the time. I think he was even hitting and even playing in leagues in in Latin America until he was like 54, something like that, in the mid 50s anyway. I know Gary Sheffield did something very similar. He just couldn't get away from the game. I know Bartolo Colon has done something similar. Some of these older vets just can't let the game go, and they want to keep playing, and so they go to another league where they can still be an effective player. Master Vinman, which team with new manager has the best chance for success? Ooh, good question. Who has new managers? That's the first question. Thinking of the AL East, Cash is still there with the Rays. Boone, Cora still there. They didn't make a change in Toronto yet. The Orioles, I think they still have their manager. I don't think they changed managers. In the Central, I think the Twins still have theirs. Guardians' vote is still there. Royals didn't make a change. Tigers, they still have A.J. Hinch, no change there. Texas, still have Bochy. Houston, still with theirs. Seattle, I can't remember. I don't think they changed either. Nobody really there. On the NL side, they still have the Carlos Mendoza for the Mets. Phillies, I don't think they changed either. Snitker's still in charge there with the Braves. NL Central, probably be the Cincinnati Reds would be the team that changed the manager as far as Terry Francona having the best chance of success. Probably Terry Francona and the Reds. Cedric makes 2 of those grabs every season. I wouldn't say to the level of what Gary Matthews Jr. does. I've seen some of his crazy catches. Mullins is good, I will give you that. But that catch was special. We're talking probably one of the top 5 catches in the history of the sport. As far as that catch, we still see it on highlight packages, not just for Rangers baseball, but even on MLB Network's montage of the greatest plays ever. It's certainly in that conversation. D-Rod, who was the Ranger that went to the crazy 2008 home run derby, he could be a Ranger DH, all-time DH. Was that Josh Hamilton, where he had a great one round, and then I still think he lost the home run derby, but I think he was, had that incredible round of home runs. That I believe was Josh Hamilton. I'd still prefer Rusty Greer in center, just because of longevity. But if you're looking for a superstar talent, I'd probably put Josh Hamilton in that category, possibly there as well. Rafe, I remember when he was talking about KD to the Grizz, and they had heavy talks, but ran out of time because they couldn't come to a deal. Yes, KD, that was kind of surprising to see the Grizz they were in on that one. Bob Myers actually broke the news on ESPN. That was kind of surprising that he lit that one out. Otani's translator, yes, a.k.a. the Fall Guy. Let's see what your comment was about the Fall Guy there. Poor guy, I wonder how much he got paid to take the fall. I don't think he got paid to take the fall. I think he legitimately did what he did. I think the FBI thoroughly investigated that for Major League Baseball, so they didn't have to do it. If it was an in-house investigation, then I might believe there's some fishiness going on. But this was all handled above board. There was no fishiness there. Julio Franco played until his 50s, true. One of the greatest players ever. and he actually played in the majors until that point. Players that kind of reach that old age, even in the modern times, talking about guys like Jamie Moyer comes to mind. David Cohn, from what I remember, pitched very long as well. Let's see, old Cleveland coach. Julio Franco is probably still playing somewhere. I have not heard, but I'd imagine so. Somewhere he's on a baseball field. Rafe, if I have to watch Kelsey propose to Swift after the game, I may lose my mind. You may have to, my friend. We shall see. I think they'll do it as a private event if they do it, though. I don't think they'd make it a spectacle at the Super Bowl. But if they do, it's their decision, not ours. I don't really care one way or the other about it. Rafe, imagine having the best job in the world, getting paid to be a translator for an MLB superstar, and you ruin it. That is true. Ipe certainly did that. Alrighty, appreciate you guys joining us this evening. It's been a long day as far as transactions that we covered for you guys during the trade deadline with the NBA. We had a nice little live here tonight. We'll do some more information tomorrow, going into some of the rankings before we get into spring training, and then get ready for some other transactions. One other news item that I didn't get to mention as much as I'd like anyway. Tommy Pham has agreed to a one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates. They finally make another addition to this lineup. Every year he seems to be a factor in October. I wonder if this is enough to help them get over the hump offensively during the season, though. That's the bigger question for me. Sean, rest in peace to the Bears owner, absolutely. D-Rod, didn't Randy pitch into his mid-40s? I think so. I want to say he pitched like his 41, 42, maybe 43 season. Who in the world allows their translator to have millions of access, or to have full access of millions? A lot of guys who come over from international leagues do that because they don't know how to speak the language when they're talking to the bank, so they usually have some of their personnel take care of those kinds of things. Maybe not a translator, but somebody else who can handle those types of things in English and who understand the language. Randy pitched until he was 46. I'll take your word for it. I knew it was into his 40s. Marlins, Reds, White Sox are the only managerial changes for 25 season. White Sox, I like Will Venable. I don't think they're going to do a huge thing this year. I think they're going to get maybe to 60, 65 wins. That'd still be a great job managing in year one. Reds, I think, have the best chance to contend. And the Marlins, they're going to be trying to tear this thing apart for the next few years. So Reds are really the only team that has the decent chance there. Rafe, a guy who hasn't been heartbroken yet. Let's see, Cowboys Nation, Nolan still pitches to cattle today. Oh, man. He does have the Nolan Ryan beef, I will say that. He actually has local commercials anyway for the jalapeno tree that actually meets the owner of local jalapeno trees and does the little commercials for them because they sell his Nolan Ryan beef in their tacos and everything else. D-Rod, maybe Verdugo to San Diego or to San Diego to play left field? Possibly. I think they've got some good options in-house that they might be trying to bring up, though. I wonder how much financially they're trying to hold on to this roster at the moment. But I do expect the Padres to make some moves. Once they make some moves, maybe they do a trade of Luis Arraez and they bring back Ezekiel Duran. Maybe he goes out there and plays in left. That's a possibility. But I like the idea that you bring up there Verdugo to San Diego. I think that would be a good get for them. I'm still waiting to see if the Astros make a try for Verdugo there. They all have accountants. They do. Wish I could have watched Nolan dominate. Right there with you. Giants and Rays trade. Are you saying there is one? There was a trade. Let's see what the trade was. The former Rangers prospect. Basically a guy who was DFA'd earlier this week anyway from the Rays goes to the Giants. Giants already have a prospect that they were trying to get some use out of at shortstop already, and Luciano, another highly rated prospect. Both have struggled to find good success at the major league level, so I think this is more just shaking things up before the start of spring training, more than anything else. The way Elias is signing outfielders, Verdugo could be the next. True, he has signed 3 of them so far this offseason, and 2 of them are probably going to start the season in the minors. Kings, what do you think of the City Connects, bro? Some be looking a little too much, but they are right. I would say the Rangers ones are pretty cool. The Peagle was kind of a weird thing in the beginning, but it actually looks kind of cool the more we've gotten used to it. Some of them are not so great, and some teams have actually gotten away from them entirely already. Rafe, I think it was old, just didn't see it until now. It was a little bit older. I think that trade actually happened earlier. It looks like it did happen around 1 o'clock. Let's see here, Rafe. Is it true you and Mike are in the proposed Dallas reboot as JR and Bobby Ewing? No. There's a couple of shows out there that have tried to recreate Dallas, but I actually watched the reboot. That was actually pretty cool for a few years until they finally canceled it and moved it around a few different times. But that was a pretty cool show, the way they rebooted it anyway. But yeah, we shall see. Sean, Cardinals acquired Michael Hellman from the Twins. They did. Alrighty. Appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Got to get some rest for tomorrow. I'm absolutely exhausted. Been a long day chatting with you guys for about 5.5 hours, I believe, today. But we've got some more lives that we'll be doing tomorrow. Got to finish up some work tomorrow as well, baby shower as well. And I actually had to go to work on the middle of my vacation at 9 o'clock at night to make sure the store was actually locked down tight. Thankfully it was. I'm ready for some rest. I'm exhausted, my friend. But we'll be live again tomorrow around 9 o'clock. Be sure to join us for those. Thank you guys for all the support, the super chats that you sent us today. Just want to thank all you guys one more time. Thank you so much for all the support that you guys give us. Hitting that like and subscribe means a lot. All the interactions you give us in the chat as well. Anytime you spam the heart, anytime you comment, really does help this channel thrive. So I just want to thank you guys for the response you guys give us. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. Sure, we love sports, and I'd still probably be talking to one or two people, but I mean, you guys are what make this show go. You guys see how I treat all the comments in my chat here. Try to interact with every single one of you guys as much as I can. I don't require you guys to super chat me in order to answer your questions. I try to answer all of them. And for you guys to support our channel and, donate whatever you feel like, $2, $1. One guy, I think, donated 50 cents one time. I don't care what the number is. I'm thankful for every single one of them. So I really do appreciate this. And, we'll see you guys again tomorrow night. Stay safe out there, everybody.